What's going on, homies? It's your boy Musical Gamerica here. We're slapping another one of these classic Pokemon Unite tier lists. The battle items, which have recently had a few changes to a couple of the items to make it to where now there are definitely a lot more viable options. It's not just going to be the eject button meta now, so that's pretty tight. So I've got the S tier, great on anyone, basically items that can fit on any build, any Pokemon, and work pretty great. A is solid on most. Items that are going to be a little bit more situational, but still pretty much great on almost everybody. B, great situationally, is obviously going to be relatively situational items that can work really well in certain situations, maybe on certain Pokemon or Pokemon with certain builds. C, you got very situational, so items that kind of are useful but only in very niche situations. And then you got D tier, which is just poop. You don't want to use poop. So let's just slap right into it with the eject button. The eject button, of course, has always been a staple of the Pokemon Unite meta. Eject button hasn't gone away at all, and I don't think it'll be going away anytime in the near future. I think it fits pretty great on any Pokemon. It's a great engage tool, but it's also a great back out tool. And there's not really a Pokemon in the game that doesn't get any benefit from the little extra mobility that eject button brings. So I would say eject button is still S tier for sure. It's still probably one of the most, if not the most solid item in the game. Next, we got Fluffy Tail, and Fluffy Tail I think can be pretty great situationally. Obviously, it's not really going to be an item that you have on every kind of Pokemon. It's all about taking out wild Pokemon more quickly, so junglers or objective takers like Garchomps. But other than that, Fluffy Tail doesn't really serve a huge purpose on other builds, especially if they're not like an attacker, an all-arounder, something that really just grinds out the wild Pokemon a ton. So I would say it's great situationally because it can be very solid on like a Garchomp that just sweeps objectives, or a jungler clearing out jungle a little faster. I think it could be great in those situations. Full heal, I would say, is pretty solid. I think the CC immunity can be super clutch in a lot of different situations and a lot of team fights particularly. And I can definitely see it being really solid on a lot of different Pokemon. I think for your hard carries, it can be great during team fights just to make sure you don't get stopped by any CC and you're kind of free for a few seconds to just kind of go wild and know that you're clear of any potential CC. And even something like a support could probably really benefit from it, being able to continuously support the team without worrying about getting CC'd or stopped in any way. So I would say full heal is solid on most, a solid A tier. Next, we've got Goal Getter, and Goal Getter can be pretty clutch, especially in the end of the game if you're trying to get those last couple dunks in. Maybe you're trying to come back after losing Zap and you just need one more big chunky dunk on them. Those Goal Getters can save you. But I do think Goal Getter is pretty situational. If you aren't a Pokemon that's dunking consistently, you don't really get any use out of it. Of course, if you're going for like a stacking build, if you're stacking an attack weight on someone, then a Goal Getter makes a lot of sense because that just helps you confirm more goals going in. So I would say Goal Getter is pretty situational. It can be still pretty great. It can be really great in those few situations where you can really utilize it. But other than that, I think Goal Getter is outclassed by a lot of the other items in the game. Actually, I'll slap it up to B, because it can be an item that can potentially win you games in the right situation, like I said. Next, we've got the Potion. And the Potion, I would say, is a very situational item. I think it gets outclassed by most every other item. The only real situation where I think a potion makes sense, maybe a super tanky Pokemon that has a lot of like ability to keep themselves alive, like a Slowbro, something like that. I could see it working pretty well because you get more sustain out of them and you can stay in a fight longer and help your teammates more by CCing the enemy Pokemon more. So on tankier Pokemons that want to stay in the fight and help kind of CC the enemy team, I could definitely see potions being a decent choice. But other than that, I don't think they're really all that great. The extra little bit of health is nice, but I feel like in a lot of situations that health will just get depleted unless it is on a tankier Pokemon. If it's just on like someone who isn't all that tanky, I feel like that little extra nodule of health is kind of just gonna get swept through. Next, we've got Slow Smoke, the big glow up of the dang most recent patch. After all the buffs that it received, I think honestly Slow Smoke is kind of hot meta right now. If you don't know, Slow Smoke basically got buffed to where it like just super decreases enemy movement speed, their attack speed. It just kind of stuns them for a good few seconds, to where your enemy team can either like engage on them, or you can kind of escape a situation and just leave them behind. I think Slow Smoke is starting to definitely compete with the eject button for like which item is more meta, which one is more powerful. Both are really great, but I think Slow Smoke definitely has a lot of potential. Next, we've got X Attack, and I would say X Attack is also another great situationally kind of items. You aren't going to be running it on a Blissey anytime soon, but on the Pokemon that can utilize it really well, it can definitely get kind of nutty. Put it on a dang jungler like Greninja or Talonflame or a Dragonite, and you can definitely get some stinkiness going. You get a lot of extra little damage going on. It could definitely be pretty solid. Only a couple Pokemon could really utilize it all that much, so I would say it's pretty great situationally. And last but not least, we have X Speed. I would say X Speed, since it is able to counter Slow Smoke pretty heavily now, I would say it's definitely A tier just based on that alone. The extra little speed is decent. I wouldn't say it's a great item on its own, but since it does counter Slow Smoke, I think that moves it up. I think otherwise it might be in a B or maybe even a C tier, because I don't think X Speed is all that useful. But since Slow Smoke is becoming so prevalent, I think it's definitely helped it to move up a little bit, because now you can counter that and you can move around a little bit quicker. It's definitely not a terrible item, and with its ability to counter Slow Smoke, I definitely think it's going to be pretty solid, a pretty solid choice on most mons. And yeah, that's kind of the list. I didn't get any poop, so that's not a bad thing. I'm never upset about not getting any poop. I'm glad that the items are really starting to kind of diversify a bit, because like I said before, it was probably like a lot of this, a lot of this type of stuff, and then eject button S tier. But now it's really started to shift a bit, and things are looking a lot more kind of even. There's definitely a lot more options for what battle item you go with. Eject button isn't like a mandatory bring now. There's actually some variety you can pull in, so I like that. I like where the meta's going, and I like you for dang watching this video. If you liked it, that's great. Take care of yourself, love you, mean it, and I will see you in the future.